Hi friends, I'm Pastor Annika and this is my midweek reflection. A few weeks ago, I was reflecting on the need to reclaim the voices of people who have been relegated to the margins of society throughout history as we strive to build a society today that is more equitable, that treats all people with respect and dignity. I'm thinking about these questions again today because Saturday is the day when we traditionally have marked Reformation Day. When we remember then in 1517, Martin Luther allegedly nailed his 95 Theses on the door of the church in Wittenberg, marking the beginning of a movement for the church to become more faithful to the Spirit of Christ and to the words of Scripture, known as the Reformation. I grew up in the Reformed Church, the Hungarian Reformed Church in Transylvania, in a congregation that prides itself that it was established in 1590, in the early decades of the Reformation. Yet, throughout my studies of church history, I have not learned of women's participation in the life of the church of that time. All the focus was on the magisterial reformers like Luther and Zwingli and Calvin and so many others in the Hungarian context. So I was so excited when last year I was invited to be part of a project entitled Expanding the Narrative of the Reformation. Expanding the narrative, including women's voices. We gathered as women from our Presbyterian Church USA family, from various racial, ethnic, gender, sexual orientation backgrounds, bringing different life experiences, recovering stories that have not been told, to understand women's contribution and women's struggle as they participated in the life of the churches, a life of faith of our communities across the centuries. It was wonderful to hear inspiring stories of women from 15th century Spain, the women belonging to the Alumbrados movement, to Western Europe. Mary Dantier, for example, the only woman whose name is carved on the wall of the reformers in Geneva, to Eastern Europe, women like Mary of Austria or Katharina Pamphlinger, who are not presented in today's church history books, to hearing about the first African-American missionary to the Congo, to women reformers in the church in South Korea who have been integral and vital part of reform movements there, to hearing stories of African-American women, queer women, Muerista theologians from our present context, from the life of our churches and the current struggles. What transpired from all these stories is that we understand Reformation as a total stance toward life. This understanding that reflects deep transformative experiences that inspire one towards solidarity with our siblings who identify as genderqueer, our African American, our Spanish speaking, our Native American siblings, our immigrant siblings and neighbors. So I invite you as we remember and celebrate the many gifts that our Reformed tradition offers to think about what this total stance towards life means for each one of us these days. For one of the core beliefs in the Reformed tradition is of the priesthood of all believers. That means, in simple terms, that each one of us is equipped by the Spirit to use our gifts towards transforming our shared life in community into a place that really respects and celebrates each person's uniqueness and beauty and gifts. So what does it mean today as we recognize the deep divisions in our society? What does it mean for us as the new judge being confirmed on the Supreme Court? Many people worry about marriage equality being called in question, or access to adequate health care for all may be endangered, or women's access to reproductive health care. What does it mean for us as people who strive to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, to stand in solidarity with people who today are at the margins of society? Remembering stories, learning about stories of immigrants, of minority groups, of LGBTQIA people, of all folk who are relegated to the side as unworthy, will help us to create a society where we can all feel safe, valued, where we can all flourish, and where we can all rejoice in a peaceful and harmonious life together. May it be so. Take care, and I will see you on Sunday. Blessings.